Hello, my name is Steisha Pintado. I'm a third-year graduate student in the School of Arts Studio Arts MFA program. The faculty mentor for my research is Barbara Campbell-Thomas, who is also chair of my thesis committee. My creative research explores my personal experience of being born and raised in a religious cult and the aftermath of leaving the cult. I was taught that Armageddon could come at any moment, and only true worshipers of Jehovah would survive and receive everlasting life on a paradise earth. My purpose in life was predetermined and designed around being a Jehovah's Witness. There was room for very little else. It was a life of isolation, guilt, and fear. I left the Jehovah's Witnesses when I was 19 years old because I wanted to go to college, something that was not allowed. So my research comes from a very personal place. And because I am publicly calling the Jehovah's Witnesses a cult, I am now completely shunned by my family and childhood friends. In fact, my family would be punished by the Jehovah's Witnesses if they were caught having contact with me. This is because they see me as an apostate, which is by definition a person who renounces a religious or political belief or principle. But for the Jehovah's Witnesses, an apostate is worse than a pedophile, a rapist, or a murderer. Those are sins that can be forgiven, but never that of an apostate. I am reclaiming this title, apostate, as a way to take back my power and my voice, and I want to use my work to speak out against a system of oppression hiding in plain sight. My practice is interdisciplinary, using drawing, painting, and installation and animation together to unfold a narrative of indoctrination and liberation. I carefully curate the fabric I use in my work, looking for colors and fabric patterns that resemble the fabric that my mother used in the 80s and 90s to sew our Kingdom Hall dresses when I was a child. This fabric gives me the closest physical connection I can have with my mother. It is a vessel of visual and tactile memory that directly relates to the memories of my family and also to the experience of being shunned. The Jehovah's Witnesses do not allow for any iconic imagery in their worship because they strictly adhere to the second of the 10 commandments, which is to not worship idols. Thus, I am left to utilize the accidental iconography of the Jehovah's Witnesses, which includes the cookie cutter kingdom halls and the physical objects that shape their interior spaces, the chairs, the microphones, the carpet, the platform, the magazines, their illustrations of paradise, and their loaded language. So this leaves us to a question of how can we identify cults? Cults can be small, just 2 people. They can also be very large. The Jehovah's Witnesses have 8 million active members worldwide. Cults don't have to be religious either. There are food cults, exercise cults, culty romantic or familial relationships, cults of personality, political cults, and many more. Dr. Stephen Hassan, a psychologist specializing in cultic studies, uses his BITE model to help us identify cults. BITE stands for behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotion control. Behavior control is defined by the group determining who you're allowed to speak to, what to wear, what you watch or read. The group uses positive and negative reinforcement to control your behavior. Individualism is discouraged, and it enforces very strict rules. Information control involves controlling the information that the group receives, withholding information from the group, forbidding access to former members, forbidding independent research, utilizing a buddy system to spy on and control group members, and extensive use of media content that's generated by the group. Thought control utilizes a good versus evil and us versus them thinking. It uses buzzwords or loaded language to stop critical thinking. It forbids any questioning of the leadership or doctrine and labels other belief systems as evil. Emotion control promotes feelings of guilt and unworthiness. It instills fear of the outside world and independent thinking. It utilizes love bombing, teaches you that you'll never be happy outside of the group, and it uses shunning to create a fear of losing your friends and family. So one thing that I'm working on with my research right now is the thought of how can we prevent radicalization? And some of the ideas so far that I've come to are to stop authoritarian style teaching, promote critical thinking and free thought, teach people how to tell fact from fiction, teach intelligent disobedience, which is when something doesn't sound right, you should stop, think about it, go do the research, make a decision for yourself, and speak up if something is wrong. Another area that I think that would be of great value is for our country to pass legislation to fight coercion, undue influence, mind control, and radicalization. Of course, the difficulty here is how to find a balance to fight these issues without stepping over the boundaries of our freedom of speech and freedom of religion, which are absolutely necessary in our democracy. But we also need to make sure that people have the freedom to leave a religion. And that's, a big sign that you're in a cult is when you're not allowed to leave. And I think this is where both education and legislation can potentially help alleviate this problem. As I continue my research, I'm also looking at the impacts of cancel culture and how we can help people who have already become radicalized. And also, what is this de-radicalization process? Thank you so much for your time.